Goodness, my microphone was off. But yeah, welcome everyone. We're live again. I figured I should go live again because I kind of enjoyed last week's live stream. But yeah, I hope everyone is doing well. I hope everyone is having a good day, enjoying the sunshine, because over here there's a sunshine. Yeah, there's a lot of people here, which I love seeing. I appreciate every single one of you for being there. We're gonna have another live stream today. In regards to the topic, I don't really have a specific topic to talk about, but I do wanna, just have a good time. Talk about philosophy maybe, or anything you guys want to talk about. If you guys want any advice on any matter, then yeah. Apologies for the technical difficulties. My microphone was actually off. So yeah. Apologies for that. Let me just check the chat real quick. Your videos really lift the weight and burden off my chest. Love them. Thank you so much, brother. No worries, man. Thank you for your comment. I appreciate you. How you doing, Ash? It's good to see you. I'm doing really well. I'm enjoying the sunshine today. It's a good weather. It's 23 degrees, which is kind of surprising. But yeah, I'm just having a good time. How are you doing? Are you atheist? I am not atheist, no. What's your favorite color? My favorite color is green. Not really sure why, but I just like the color green. It just looks very... I don't know. I don't really know how to explain it. Let me see here. Sage, how do I stay calm in every situation? Majority of the time, right? Calmness comes from experiencing the same thing over and over again, to the point where you now anticipate the outcome that you've always experienced. And so experiencing situations that pretty much give you discomfort at first is a starter. Let's just, as an example, let's just say that you panic when it comes to presenting your project in front of a class, for example. The way you can combat that anxiety and that fear that you possess within you, the best way to do that is by exposing yourself to that situation over and over again, to the point where now you've turned the unfamiliar into a familiar, to something more familiar, if that makes sense. So essentially, making the unfamiliar familiar to the point where you're now confident in going through those experiences. I think that's where calmness comes from, I am not Indian, no. I am not Indian. Let me see. Sage, should you give second chances to exes? Does it depend on yes, I think it does depend on circumstances. It depends on the situation. It depends on why you guys broke up in the first place, or why the relationship ended. An example could be, your partner cheated on you, she was disloyal to you, or he was disloyal to you, they were disloyal to you. And so most people would not necessarily give someone a second chance after that. But again, that depends on the person and depends on their boundaries and what they can tolerate and not tolerate. But yeah, that was just an example. Like, obviously, it depends on a lot of many factors. But yeah, it depends on, as I said, the circumstances as well as one's own tolerance. What motivated you to create such meaningful and philosophical videos? So, ever since a young age, I've always had this interest, this passion to help people. And aside with that, I've always wanted to do content creation as well. And so I essentially just joined them together, if that makes sense. And here we are. Zachary Herring 97, thank you so much for the $10, man. I appreciate that. You've helped me get through my current relationship and move throughout differently. Binged all your live streams and I'm happy to be here with you live. Love your content. You're really changing lives. Thank you, man. I appreciate that, Zachary. I really do appreciate that, my friend. You know, every day I go through my comment section on YouTube, Instagram, etc. And I just see people, you know, and the support that they provide. And in a sense, it does humble me. It reminds me of my humility. It reminds me of my mortality, if that makes sense. And it reminds me of the position that I'm currently in. It makes me grateful for the position that I'm currently in. It never ceases to amaze me how many people I've genuinely helped, and it does touch my heart. It really does. Each and every single one of you, I want to thank every single one of you for being here, for supporting me, and for being in this journey with me, if that makes sense. Thank you, everyone. Genuinely. I know I'm doing something. Hold on, Sage. I know I'm doing everything wrong, but I can't just bring myself to fix it or work on it. How do I help myself? Could you give me more information regarding your matter? Like, you said that you're doing everything wrong. What does that mean? What does that look like, for example? And you also said that you can't just bring yourself to fix it or work on it. What is the ideal that you have in your mind when it comes to fixing things? What does that look like? I'm actually thinking, if someone had betrayed me once and they're so guilty about it, they are actually fading. Also, they love me at the same time, unconditionally still. Then should I forgive them? I mean, forgiveness is a personal thing, right? I can't really tell you if you can forgive someone or not. That is up to you and up to your boundaries and what you can tolerate. If you believe that such person deserves your forgiveness, then forgive them. I can't really tell you if you should forgive them or not, because again, I don't really know what your boundaries are and what you tolerate, and what kind of person they are, for example, you know. Can you talk about addiction, and do you have any one of them and overcome? Yes, so of course. I've had this, oftentimes I still do, I have an addiction of playing video games, right? I love playing video games, I enjoy playing them, and oftentimes they can, you know, take up a lot of my time to the point where I don't have time to do anything else. And so one way I found in dealing with such addiction, And I think this can also work with other addictions as well, like watching adult content and gambling and so on. I think, thank you for the donation, by the way. I'm going to get to you one second. Let me just respond to this comment. The way I've dealt with addiction was essentially limiting my interaction with that specific indulgence. So video games. I deleted most of the games that I would usually play so that it would kind of limit me from, or prevent me from playing those games. And essentially my interest would get reduced. I would have a lack of interest in playing games anymore. And that would essentially, it would force me to focus on other matters and my other responsibilities, you know? So I think one way of in dealing with addiction is by limiting your interaction with such indulgence. So for example, if it could, you know, if you're addicted to scrolling on TikTok, for example, I guess you can change up your settings on the app so that it limits you from using the I think my camera is, just one second. Okay, let me just quickly one second. There we go. Apologies, my camera is a bit off. Should come back in a bit. There we go. Okay, what was I saying? Yeah, so essentially just reducing your interaction with the indulgence is the best way to do it. Lime, thank you so much for the $5, man. Appreciate that. Keep up the community stage, doing a great job, Uncle Lime. Appreciate that, man. Thank you. Love the support, man. But yeah, so like on TikTok, for example, you can change a bit certain settings. If I'm not mistaken, you can do a screen time on TikTok, maybe on Instagram as well. I'm not too sure. Essentially, just reducing how much you use the app, how much you indulge in with the indulgence. How do you deal with racism as an immigrant? That's a good question. I think racism stems from a lack of education in such topics, right? I think it comes from how someone has been raised, right? And so I think a great way in dealing with racism is by understanding that the people who are essentially being racist to you or your loved ones don't know any better, right? They don't know any better, and I guess we can blame them for that, or we can't blame them for that, because it might be their parents who brought them up that way, or it could be them who educate themselves. In essence, we shouldn't really worry too much about what they're saying about us, because it doesn't really mean anything, because it's not true. It's just their opinion, and sure, it is offensive, and I don't disagree with that. I think it depends on how they come about with it, right? So if they physically attack you, and if they get aggressive with you, for example, then you have every right to defend yourself. But if it's just words, if they're just saying, you know, racial slurs and stuff like that, it's best to just ignore them and not give them the attention, because that's what they're trying to get from you. The attention, your reaction, that's what people want. And this doesn't just apply to racist individuals, it also applies to anyone who is essentially trying to insult you and trying to get a reaction out of you. These people want a reaction from you. And if you give them that, then you give them power over you. So it's best to just ignore such people and not essentially entertain their insults. Um, how would you deal with height insecurity? Okay, so this is, I think I've been asked this question quite a few times, not on this live stream, but on previous live streams. So your height is something that you don't have control over. You can't change your height unless you get this surgery that recently came about where you can increase your height. But anyway, that's a topic for another time. Majority of the time, in essence, you can't control your height, so it shouldn't be something that you should be worrying about, right? Instead of worrying about something you can't control, focus on the things you can control. So your height is one of the things that you can't control. What are some things you can control, right? If your worry is your attractiveness, or I don't know, how you physically appear to other people, then divert your attention to parts of your body that you have full control over. For example, your hairstyle, maybe. You can control it in certain ways where you can, make it look nice, whatever. My point is, don't focus on things you can't control, because your height, again, is something out of your control. And the more you worry about your height, the more you'll suffer, because, again, you're trying to control something that's way beyond your control. So yeah. Screaming Kid, hold on, what was his name again? Sorry, apologies. Screaming Kid Go, I can't really read the full name, but thank you so much for the 10, man. I appreciate that. And you're welcome. Let me go like the other one as well. There we go. Let me see. Hey Sage, have you ever had past trauma? Normally those who dedicate themselves to help others are ones who needed it the most in the past. At least that's the case for me. I suppose you could say that I had, somewhat, some trauma in the past, yes. I guess, I've also experienced other traumas that I'm not really aware about. I'm sure there are people out here who've experienced difficulty and suffering that they're not really aware about. It's those quiet sufferings that we all experience, and I think I've experienced most of those things. A lot of those quiet ones. I think I've also done a lot of reflection, a lot of deep pondering regarding my experiences and regarding people, their behavior, why they behave the way they do, why I behave the way I do, and why I am who I am, why life is the way it is. And I think self-reflection is one of the best things one can do when it comes to, I guess, gaining wisdom. I've said this in the last week's live stream, but self-reflection is the third pillar of wisdom. That's one way of gaining wisdom, is by reflecting on your experiences, reflecting on you as a person, reflecting on other people as well. It really does help. It really does help with gaining awareness and understanding yourself more. And it seems as though most of us don't really do that, because we're all distracted with, whether it be social media or video games or whatever else. Distractions are more common in today's society than it was about 60 years ago, maybe 100 years ago. Not that distractions didn't exist then, but it did exist, but not as much as it is now. And with the rate that technology is advancing, I think it's going to get even worse. It's going to be more difficult to take the time to just stay in silence and sit in silence and just reflect and listen to your inner voice that we all possess. Yo, Sage, a girl texted me first. She started talking to me. I didn't talk with her that much, but now she blocked me and she's telling everyone that I was annoying and all that stuff. I don't know what to do. Okay, so essentially someone is spreading fake rumors about you in some aspect, right? So trying to change people's opinions about the rumors that this person is spreading about you is out of your control. You can't change what people think. You can provide them with the truth by saying, look, this isn't true, this is how it happened, and here's the evidence. And if people want to believe that, they will. If they don't, they won't. And you shouldn't run around chasing people and shoving the truth down their throats. As long as you know what's true, that's all that matters, right? It's not your responsibility to prove people, to show people the truth. I mean, to essentially change people's opinions is what I'm trying to say. I am currently feeling overwhelmed, and due to this I can't study. Next month I have an exam, but I can't focus. I am usually very disciplined, but now I just can't. How can I overcome this phase? Okay, so let's quickly dissect what you just said, right? You said that you're usually very disciplined. That's the first thing I want to identify. What does that look like? You're usually very disciplined. Why and how? How did you achieve such discipline? What did you do, and how did you maintain that discipline? And another question following up to that is, how did it go inconsistent? How do you stop being indisciplined? I guess the answer to my last question would be the fact that you're overwhelmed. And so my other question would then be, why are you overwhelmed? What's causing you to be so overwhelmed? Is my other question to you. Sage, I have zero motivation studying and I will not study, but it's essential for me. What should I do? The aim shouldn't be to have motivation. It should be to, again, like I said to the previous individual, it's about discipline, right? So forcing yourself to study and trying to make it a bit more enjoyable, because it seems from your comment, I am going to make an assumption here, so apologies for that, but it seems as though you don't find studying enjoyable, because if you did find it enjoyable, you wouldn't need to ask me that question. So you would need to find a way to make studying enjoyable. How would you do that, is my question. Alongside that, I would also say to get rid of any distractions that you might have around you. So maybe your phone, your computer screen, whatever it is, just put it in a different room, out of sight, out of mind, and just make sure you're forcing your brain to just focus on the study that's in front of you. Because at the end of the day, your brain just wants to be entertained in some aspect, right? And so if you remove the distractions that can entertain your brain, all that's left is the studying in front of you that your brain is essentially forced to focus on. And yeah, and also I think another thing that I want to say is consistency. You need to be consistent in doing this. If you're not consistent, then you won't develop the discipline necessary for such thing. Watching your videos really helped me a lot. I admire your knowledge and calm mindset. Yeah, is there any advice for being this calm? Because I do struggle with anger and my self-discipline. Okay, so first of all, I want to ask you one question, and that question is, why do you struggle with your anger? Like, how does your anger overwhelm you, and what kind of situations does it overwhelm you in? See, calmness I think, as I said previously, it comes from experience, but it also comes from consistency. Like, the more consistent you are in practicing calmness, whether that be, you know, taking deep breaths, taking a step back from the situation and just recollecting your thoughts, just taking a deep breath and you know, not feeding your ego, not feeding your emotions in a way, is a good start, right? And to make that more, you know, to increase the longevity of that would then be to be consistent, to consistently do it, right? But yeah. I feel like losing everything, how to come over. I'm highly negative and I can't get on positive side. Everything's getting wrong. No one even picking up cool. Don't have job, literally at rock bottom. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, man. Would you like to talk to me more about that, if that's okay? How to stop scrolling and stop doing procrastination. So, like, obviously procrastination is delaying what you need to do in some aspect, right? So your mind, your brain seeks, as I said before, it seeks for dopamine and entertainment, and so, you know, and so, like, when we are on our phones and when we're scrolling, it gives us that dopamine rush and we enjoy it. And we don't want to close the app, we don't want to close our phone, because we understand that what we need to do and what we want to do are completely different things. What we need to do is way more daunting compared to what we actually want to do. I think a great way in practicing discipline and developing your willpower has to be doing what you need to do first thing in the morning, or like first thing in the day, so that you can do what you want to do afterwards. So as soon as you wake up, instead of just grabbing your phone, you can just get up, make your bed, brush your teeth, etc., and do what you need to do, whether that be studying or doing your chores, going to work, going to school. And then once all of that is done, then you can do what you want to do. It seems as though there's this common, you know, preaching of the idea that we mustn't have fun and that we mustn't enjoy our life, and we should just be disciplined, and that we should just you know, do work and grind and hustle. But that's not necessarily healthy. Yes, you need to grind, you need to do discipline, whatever it is, you need to do what's necessary, but at the same time, enjoy your life, enjoy, you know, the simple pleasures of life as well. Don't overindulge in those pleasures, but do balance the two together. Have discipline, be disciplined, but also enjoy your life. Ash, thank you so much for the £2. I appreciate you so much, genuinely. You've changed a lot of lives, man. Have a good day. You too, genuinely. I appreciate that. Goodness me, the support is insane, guys. I truly appreciate every single one of you. Hi Sage, I have a question for life. Is discipline important when you know you will die in 100 years, or just living your life because even if you work hard, you get... So yeah, so what I just said earlier, right? You need to find a balance between enjoying your life and being disciplined. Obviously, overindulging in pleasure is bad, and being too disciplined is bad. And there's a common, you know, a common lesson in that. And that is overindulgence and doing something too much. Is too, you know, doing anything too much is bad. I'm sure most of you've heard this, heard the saying, too much of anything is bad, and that pretty much applies with most things in life. So yeah, as I said, man, like, be disciplined, but do enjoy your life. Do what you need to do first, and then do what you want to do afterwards. So that way you don't necessarily resent or despise your work or your, you know, what you need to do, because you're getting rewarded for it. As long as your mind knows that after your the difficult tasks, you're going to get rewarded, then it will be a lot easier, trust me. I think most of us struggle with being disciplined because we understand and we know that we're not going to get rewarded for it, and that there isn't a short-term reward. The idea of the reward taking long is daunting, you know? Let me just see. I love a girl very much, and it's been 5 years, and I tried to move on with other people, but every time I did, so it was sometimes toxic or time passed, and I was the one who pulled my heart every time. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you've essentially just had rebounds in hopes of moving on from your, I guess, from this person. Majority of the time, rebounds never work. It's just a way of filling that void within us, right? And so, sure, you know, having a rebound might fill in the void for a short amount of time, but after the rebound's over and after you've satisfied yourself for that short amount of time, that void will come back again, and, you know, you will feel crap again, in a sense. Imagine that void within you as like a black hole. The more you feed it, the more it grows. And so the more you feed it the rebounds and whatnot, the more it grows and the more difficult it gets in moving on from that and overcoming it. So instead of trying to distract yourself from this person by essentially, going into rebounds, I think the best thing to do is just to take the time to process the situation and reflect on the situation in hopes of gaining lessons and knowledge from these experiences so that you can learn from them and adapt. So if you were to experience this again, you have a better way in dealing with it because you have learnt from your past. And that's pretty much what wisdom is, right? Okay. Alrighty. How do you manage your... Hold on. How do you manage what's something you believe that most people disagree with? I don't disregard the fact that other people disagree with what I believe in, because I acknowledge that belief is opinions, right? But having a belief is an opinion. And so that's how I view it. If you view it that way, it becomes a lot easier to manage and deal with it. It's basically like saying, this person likes chocolate ice cream and I like strawberry ice cream, which, by the way, I don't like strawberry ice cream. I prefer chocolate ice cream. But anyways, it's like saying that, right? So someone likes a certain amount, certain flavor of ice cream, and I like a certain flavor of ice cream. And the difference in opinion is valid because it's a subjective topic, right? We can't really have an objective answer to the, what's the best ice cream flavor. It doesn't make any sense because there is no such thing as an objective ice cream flavor. And the same thing applies with belief. Belief is opinion. hold on, bro. Can you please launch your online PDF book, please? I really need it. Yeah, so I'm still writing my book for those who are interested in purchasing it. Hopefully, the book will release either mid 2026 or the end of 2026. Obviously, I still need to finish writing it and, you know, get it checked up and whatnot, and then distribute it and whatnot, etc., etc. It's a long process. So hopefully it is, you know, hopefully I can release it soon. And by the way, you said an online PDF book. Obviously, the book will be available digitally, but you can also purchase it physically and have it a physical copy of the book. So, yeah. Let me see. Hey Sage, bro, how to not expect from people. I'm 20 and facing problems in my in life by expecting from people and getting hurt. I've had enough, but I can't cry anymore. It's done. Please tell me. So you said, hold on, the chat is moving a bit too fast. How to not expect from people. I'm 20 and facing problems in life by expecting from people and not getting hurt. Could you tell me more about that if possible? Because like, could you define what you mean by expecting? What do you expect from people, for example? What kind of problems are you experiencing, and what do you expect people to do or say? The thing is, right, having expectations from people is kind of difficult because expectations doesn't always mean reality. It doesn't really equate to reality, right? I think having expectations is, majority of the time, it can be very disappointing, depending on the expectation, obviously. But like, I think it's important to make your expectations realistic, and to not always expect something to go bad or good. And what I mean by that is, don't solely focus on one end of the stick. Focus on both ends so that you acknowledge that either possibility can happen. In regards to your case, let's just say you expect people to help you, right? Let's just say that's an example. That's what you expect from people. Focusing solely on that and expecting only that from people can help you, can make you disappointed. It can lead to disappointment because people can not help you as well. So there's that as well. Okay, so they just become unavailable. I expect and get hurt. Even my love is like this. What to do? My parents too. So what are you expecting them to help you with? What is it that you're expecting them to help you with? And yeah, so that's my question to you. Okay. Hello, Sage. May I ask, how would you find the truth if two people are spreading toxic rumors about each other in a certain situation, but neither gives concrete proof? See, that's a difficult situation, right? So, like, if neither of them are providing, you know, proof or evidence, strong evidence to support their case, it becomes difficult to figure out which one is telling the truth. Yeah, I'm not really sure what I can say to that. Could you tell me more about that if possible? The link, okay, so the link in the link tree is expired. I'm gonna have to change that link soon. I'm pretty sure you're talking about the Discord server. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna try to fix that soon after the live stream. Okay. If life is complex, then how to make it simple? I mean, we're animals, we're supposed to live and that's it. But being conscious makes it more complex, and social dynamics make it even more. I guess first we need to define what we mean by simple, right? So like, what does it mean to have a simple life? In your perspective, in your eyes, how would you want your life to be simple? Like, what does that mean? To me, having a simple life would mean to have a peaceful life, a quiet life, a life away from all the noise, and to grow my own food, to have my own animals, to live in a cabin in the forest. Like, that's my type of simple life, and everyone has their own definition. So I'm curious to know what your own is. My partner always brings my wrongdoings from years ago when I confront him about something, and I realized he does it to flip so we don't discuss his wrongdoings, and it's always like that. I accepted that some people are very insecure, especially avoidant people, and they will put you down. 100%. So in regards to in your case, right, your partner switches the table to you, essentially, flips the switch to you, so that he can get on top, essentially. It's like an ego war, right? Like he's fighting to get on top and to have power over you by bringing up your past and your own wrongdoings, which aren't really relevant to the discussion. And it's very difficult to deal with such people. It is a headache, I'll tell you that. But yeah, that's what I would say. May I ask, what are you trying to achieve in this life? Good question. Currently, I'm trying to send my message to the world, to share my knowledge, to share my experiences, my lessons to the world. And if people relate to it, amazing. I think my aim is to hopefully my message is well known, so that people are aware of it and that they can implement those lessons to their own life and implement the ways in dealing with situations that I essentially share on my videos, so that they can implement those ways into their own lives. And yeah, currently that's my goal. But yeah, I started reading philosophy a bit, and ideas of nihilism and existentialism makes me feel anxious. Do you also feel like that? yes, particularly because nihilism as well as existentialism portray similar messages and similar ideas in regards to the fact that we don't really there's no objective meaning in life, right? There is no meaning in life. The only difference is existentialism tells you that you create the meaning, you create subjective meaning in life. And I do find myself agreeing with existentialism more than I do nihilism, because nihilism essentially, you know, there are different branches of nihilism, but you know, the most common definition of nihilism is the idea that nothing matters and that life is meaningless. Although I do partially agree, I don't necessarily completely agree with the entire philosophy on its own. But yes, I do have to relate with the idea that it does make one anxious. It does, because what if life really is meaningless? What if we don't have any meaning in life, like objective meaning, you know? And I think that's where existentialism does better, when it preaches the idea of subjective meaning, and that subjective meaning can be created. Sage, imagine you are in year 10th grade and you truly try to be better every day but keep failing to be in the right track. What would you do? I would first identify where I keep going wrong, where I keep failing, and why I keep failing. Is it because that I don't have the capabilities of achieving success? Is it because that I am not prepared for success? Is it because I'm doing something wrong? What am I doing wrong? First, we reflect, and once we've identified the problem, we find a solution. So we brainstorm ideas in regards to the solutions, right? That's what I would do, I would say. The acceptance of letting go is beautiful. Everything will work out if we keep a positive mindset, but when we don't push ourselves down, I stop to ask, why did the person do this? It's not in my control. Exactly. You see, we have this, you know, most people in relationships, right? Most of us have this desire to change our partner. We want them to be better for us. And so we try so many different things to try and change their behavior and change the way they are. But nothing seems to work, because we fail to realize that their change comes from their desire to change, not from us. We can't change people. If people want to change, they will. If they don't, they won't. Simple. And that's what I've learned. How long will the stream be? So I think I'm gonna basically an hour, so I'll probably leave in about 12 minutes or so, as I do have some work to finish off. I need to finish off the animation for today. Yes, there'll be an animation today, guys. Look out for that. And yeah, I need to work on those. Let me see. Sage, if you could have a chat with 16-year-old you, what would you say? Well, that's a good question. Be yourself. Don't be something you're not. Don't try to please people you don't really care about. Do what you want to do. Focus on you. And essentially, stop trying to be people that you don't actually want to be. And I think that's what I struggled with as a teenager. I struggled with this idea of trying to be someone I'm not, in hopes of fitting in. And we have this desire, this tendency to fit in. We want people to like us, and sometimes it works. And in the times it works, it only works because that's what other people want, not what we want. Can you upload long form videos? Yes, so I'm in the process of planning and scripting longer form videos. Obviously, the reason why I kind of stopped making them is because they took a lot of my time. Specifically, the short form videos that I'm currently doing now, because I've kind of changed up the way I do my animations, and I'm spending more time drawing all the animations and animating them and editing them and so on. They take up a lot of my time, so to do long form and short term at the same time, you know, it will be very difficult. But again, I am working on them, so don't you worry. The only thing is they will be posted a lot slower than usual, considering they do take up a lot of my time. But yeah. By the way, why are your non-animation ones not viewable? Well, mainly because I wanted everyone to just focus on my animation videos rather than my, you know, old videos. But yeah, that's probably why. Sage, one last question. If you could fix only one mistake from your past and present, what would it be? Opening up, I would say. That's what I would say. There is a philosopher and professor, and his name is Viktor Frankl. If you want, I've heard about him. Yes, I think he was he the one that wrote The Man's Search for Meaning? I think it was. Hold on. He was the yeah, Man's Search for Meaning. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, he was an Auschwitz prisoner, if I'm not mistaken. Like, he was in the concentration camp. You could correct me if I'm wrong. They are pretty good, yeah, I do agree. Well, obviously now, considering that I'm doing live streams, I could re-release those videos. I'll think about it, don't worry. Is morality relative or absolute, and where do morals come from? I personally think that morality is relative. I kind of classify myself as a moral relativist. I think morality is relative depending on the time, the society, I guess people's passions and interests as well. Because if you think about it, the morals that societies nowadays possess were a lot more different 500 years ago compared to what they are now. Morality is different in different countries. Morality is different in Western countries compared to Eastern countries or whatever else, you know. It's different everywhere, is my point. I suppose, you know, when you talk about the objective morals that everyone agrees upon, like the idea that murder is wrong, it can also be questionable, right? Like, would murder be wrong if the person deserves it? Would then be, would a question would then be the question. So I think it's relative. What is your comfort food and why? My comfort food. I don't really think I have a comfort food. Probably digestives biscuits. So they're these chocolate biscuits, right? So one part of the biscuit is chocolate, the other part is just biscuit. And the reason why I like them so much is because they go really well with tea. Like, I drink tea with them and they're really very tasty. But yeah, guys, let me just see. Okay, I should be heading out now, as I do need to do my animations. I appreciate every single one of you who sent me a question, who just supported me, who sent me a super chat. I appreciate every single one of you for doing that. If all goes well, maybe I can go live next week as well. Not too sure. I can't give you guys promises. But yeah, we have come to the end of the live stream, and hopefully I'll go live next week. If not, I'll have to update you guys regarding that. Hopefully you guys have a great day. I appreciate every single one of you for being here. Thank you. Hopefully we shall see each other soon. Take care, guys.